I found my belongings in garbage bags at the gate. Mom stood there with my siblings. "You're 25, get out now." I smiled, got in my car, and drove away. 6 months later, Mom flooded me with 60 messages. "Where are you?" The sting of betrayal can be a cruel teacher, but nothing prepared me for the agonizing moment I returned home from my biggest career triumph to find my entire life tossed into black trash bags, my family staring me down like strangers. My mother, with her arms crossed, delivered the final, crushing blow. "You're 25 now, Leah. It's time for you to get out. Full stop." Growing up in our suburban Chicago home, as the youngest of 4, was never easy. My dad passed away when I was just 7, leaving my mom, Sandra, to raise us all. My older brothers, Jackson and Kevin, and my sister, Natalie, had years of memories with him. For me, his face was a blur without a photograph. After he died, Mom changed. The warm, laughing woman I vaguely remembered became someone hardened, measuring love by achievement and obedience. She worked 2 jobs, constantly reminding us of her sacrifices. "I gave up everything for you kids," was her mantra, usually followed by, "the least you could do is." As the baby, I got the good and the bad. By the time I needed braces or college tuition, Mom was more financially stable. But the emotional toll of single parenthood had worn her down. She controlled everything, my friends, my major. My siblings, they followed her script perfectly. Jackson became a surgeon, Natalie a corporate attorney, Kevin an engineer. They married people she liked, lived in neighborhoods she approved of, had kids on her schedule. They were her success stories. Then there was me. I studied marketing, not medicine or law. I took a job at a startup, not some established firm. And at 25, I was stubbornly single. By family standards, I was the black sheep. "When are you going to get a real job?" Mom would ask at Sunday dinner. Natalie was making 6 figures at your age. Despite all that, I chose to live at home after college. It was practical, my entry-level marketing job paid modestly, and Chicago housing was astronomical. Living with Mom meant I could save, pay down loans. "You can stay as long as you need," she'd said. Family supports family. But her support came with invisible chains. I paid rent, bought groceries, did most of the chores. I drove her everywhere, fixed her tech, listened to endless complaints about everyone. My siblings treated me like the perpetual baby, my opinions carrying no weight. "You'll understand when you have more life experience," Jackson would say, completely ignoring my 4 years of college and international travel, experiences he'd never had. The tension between my independence and family duty grew. My friends were living free, dating, staying out late. I envied them, trapped by finances and duty. Then came an opportunity, one I thought could change everything. My firm landed a big client, and because I had the freshest ideas, I was chosen to present our campaign in New York. My first business trip. My first solo presentation. My first big career break. I'd spent weeks preparing. The night before my flight, Mom was distracted, barely acknowledging my nervous excitement. "I'll be back late Friday night," I told her, washing dishes. "Fine," she mumbled, not looking up from her phone. "Jackson and Natalie are coming over Saturday with the kids. Make sure you're here to help." I promised I would, swallowing my disappointment. I desperately hoped this professional milestone would finally earn her approval. Maybe she'd see I was an adult, just on a different path. New York was incredible. The presentation exceeded all expectations. Clients loved our campaign, greenlighting a 7-figure budget. My boss took me to dinner, talking promotion, a raise. "You have real talent, Leah," he said. "A bright future." Those words warmed me more than any expensive wine. For once, someone saw my potential, not my shortcomings. I bought gifts, a silk scarf for Mom, craft beers for my brothers, a designer pen for Natalie. Small tokens, peace offerings, hoping to bridge the gap. On the flight home, I pictured sharing my triumph, imagining Mom's pride. I actually believed she'd finally see me. Little did I know, that fantasy of validation would shatter within minutes. The Chicago afternoon was perfect. Sunshine warmed the city after weeks of rain. A good omen, I thought. My gifts were tucked safely in my carry-on. The signed contract, the one that would change my career, was in my laptop bag. I texted Mom I'd landed, on my way home. No response. Not unusual, but a small twinge of unease flickered. Communication during the trip had been minimal. Halfway home, my phone rang. "Jackson." My oldest brother rarely called directly. "Where are you right now?" His tone was clipped, professional. "In a car, heading home. Flight landed early." Is everything okay? A pause stretched, accelerating my heartbeat. Mom wants to talk to you when you get home. We all do. Alarm replaced confusion. Is someone sick? Just get home, Leah. He hung up. I tried Natalie, then Kevin. Neither answered. My family group chat showed only red receipts. No responses. Mom's last message, from the night before, suddenly felt ominous. We need to discuss some changes when you return. My driver noticed my agitation. Everything all right, miss? Just family stuff, I grimaced. As we turned onto my street, the neighborhood looked peaceful. Then I saw them. Black garbage bags, a dozen at least, lined the driveway. 4 figures stood in the yard, stiff and confrontational. Mom in her gardening apron. Jackson in weekend clothes. Natalie, impeccable business casual. Kevin, in his university sweatshirt. You can stop here, I told the driver, my voice distant. I paid, grabbed my luggage, and stepped out. The driver pulled away, leaving me exposed to their unified front. None moved to help. None smiled. What is going on? I asked, slowly approaching. What are all these bags? Mom stepped forward, her mouth a thin line. Your things are packed. It's time for you to find your own place. The world tilted. What? Why? We never discussed this. You're 25 years old, she continued, as if I hadn't spoken. All your siblings were on their own by 23. You've overstayed your welcome. Jackson nodded. It's time you learned responsibility. The irony was staggering. I paid rent, did chores, worked full-time. I was responsible. This is insane, I said, looking from face to face, searching for any warmth. I just got back from a business trip. I have nowhere to go. You should have planned better, Natalie interjected, checking her watch. We all managed to find apartments right after college. With parental co-signing and down payment assistance, I retorted, anger beginning to cut through the shock, and significantly higher starting salaries. Excuses, Kevin muttered. You've had 3 years to figure this out. I turned to Mom. Why now? Why today? Without any warning. I've been hinting for months that you should move on, she replied. You chose not to listen. Hinting isn't giving notice. My voice rose. Normal people discuss major decisions. They don't pack someone's belongings and ambush them. Don't raise your voice to your mother, Jackson warned, stepping closer. The absurdity of it hit me. Lectured about respect while being treated with utter disrespect. What is this really about? I asked, a thought clicking into place. Are you selling the house? A flicker of surprise crossed Mom's face. My financial decisions are none of your concern. They are if they involve making me homeless with no notice. You're not homeless, Natalie scoffed. You have a job. Get an apartment. Without references. Without time to save for a security deposit. Without warning. I looked at them. Do you hear yourselves? Who treats family this way? We're doing this for your own good, Mom insisted. You need to stand on your own 2 feet. By cutting them out from under me. I countered. A neighbor walking his dog slowed, openly staring. My humiliation deepened. This is ridiculous, I said, lowering my voice. Let's go inside and discuss this like adults. There's nothing to discuss, Mom replied. The decision has been made. Without any input from me, the person most affected. Your input has been your continued failure to launch, Kevin said. We've all discussed it and agree this is necessary. That statement landed like a physical blow. They had discussed me, judged me, determined my fate without my knowledge. The gifts I'd brought them felt like pathetic bribes. When did you pack all this? I asked, gesturing to the bags. Yesterday, Mom answered. Jackson and Kevin helped. The timing wasn't coincidental. They had waited until I was gone, unable to defend myself. And what am I supposed to do now? Where am I supposed to go tonight? You should have friends you can stay with, Natalie suggested, her tone implying doubt. Or get a hotel, Jackson added. You just got back from New York. Surely you can afford a room. They didn't know the company paid for New York, or my modest savings were earmarked for planned moving costs. Can I at least come inside and sort through these bags? Everything is there, Mom said firmly. Your room has been cleared. The finality of it made my stomach clench. They had erased me. White-hot anger surged, burning away the shock and hurt. 25 years of feeling less than, of trying to earn approval that never came, of walking on eggshells. It all culminated in this moment of utter betrayal. How dare you? I said, my voice trembling. How dare all of you stand there acting righteous while doing something so cruel? Dramatic as always, Natalie muttered. Dramatic? I laughed, a bitter sound. You ambush me after a business trip, throw my possessions in garbage bags, tell me I'm homeless effective immediately, and I'm the dramatic one? We knew you'd react this way, Jackson said. This is why we did it while you were gone. You mean why you waited until I wasn't here to defend myself? That's not responsible adult behavior. That's cowardly. Mom's face flushed. Don't speak to us that way. After everything I've done for you. What exactly have you done for me lately? I cut her off. You charged me rent, made me do chores, criticized my career, compared me to my siblings. You ungrateful little, she began. Ungrateful? I said. I've been nothing but grateful. I've thanked you, helped you, supported you emotionally and financially. I swallowed every criticism, endured every comparison, and still showed up with love and respect. The facade of family unity cracked. Mom turned to Jackson. I told you she'd make this difficult. Make what difficult, exactly? I pressed. Why now? Why the urgency? Why garbage bags instead of proper boxes? Why the audience? I gestured to my siblings. Kevin shifted uncomfortably. Mom is selling the house, he admitted. Kevin. Natalie hissed. She deserves to know, he replied. The truth emerged in fragments. Mom had a high offer for the house, buyers wanted immediate occupancy. Instead of discussing it, she and my siblings decided my portion of any inheritance would be reduced because of my extended stay. So this is about money, I said, the pieces falling into place. You're pushing me out to sell the house, and you don't want me to have a claim on my share. You haven't contributed to the mortgage, Natalie argued. I've paid rent for 3 years. I countered. Where did that money go? Your rent barely covered your food and utilities, Mom dismissed. And what about Dad's will? I asked. He left the house to all of us. I remember the lawyer explaining that. Uncomfortable glances passed between them. They'd hoped I wouldn't remember. You'd sue your own mother? Jackson asked, incredulous. You'd disinherit your own daughter. I fired back. We stood at an impasse, in the front yard, neighbors pretending not to watch. 3 years of pent-up resentment boiled over. You have never respected my choices or seen me as an equal adult, I said. You've used me as free labor, emotional support, and a convenient target for your disappointment. And now you discard me when it's financially convenient. No one denied it. Their silence confirmed every insecurity I'd ever harbored about my place in this family. In that moment of clarity, I made a decision. I walked to my car, parked on the street, and opened the trunk. What are you doing? Mom demanded. Leaving, I replied simply. Isn't that what you want? One by one, I loaded the garbage bags into my hatchback. My entire life, clothes, books, electronics, mementos, packed without care. When the car was full, I turned to face them one last time. They stood together, a unit from which I had always been excluded. You know, I said, I just landed the biggest client in our firm's history. I was about to get promoted. I brought gifts for all of you to celebrate. I laughed softly at my own naivety. I actually thought you would be proud of me. Leah, Kevin began, a hint of regret in his voice. No, I cut him off. You've all made your position clear. I will not stay where I am not wanted or valued. To their visible surprise, I smiled. Not from happiness, but from the sudden weightlessness of having nothing left to lose. Goodbye, I said, getting into my car. I hope the money is worth it. I drove away without looking back, tears blurring my vision as familiar streets suddenly felt foreign. My phone buzzed with messages, likely them realizing the implications, but I ignored them. With no plan, nowhere to go, I called the only person I trusted completely, my college roommate, Zoe. Through choked sobs, I explained. Come here now, she said without hesitation. You can stay as long as you need. Zoe and her boyfriend, Tyler, helped unload my car, no judgment, no questions. That first night was the lowest point. Curled on an unfamiliar bed, surrounded by garbage bags I couldn't bear to unpack, I cycled through shock, grief, and rage. My phone kept buzzing. Zoe convinced me to read them. Mom insisting I was overreacting. Jackson lecturing me about responsibility. Natalie sending links to apartments far outside my budget. Kevin alone expressed some regret about the method, though not the decision itself. These people are toxic, Zoe declared after reading them. You need space. They're still my family, I said weakly. Family doesn't treat each other this way, Tyler interjected. What they did was emotional abuse. Though the term felt extreme, their validation helped me see it clearly. This wasn't normal. It wasn't my fault. And I didn't have to accept it. That night, I made two decisions. I would build a new life, entirely independent from my family. And I would never again measure my worth through their approval. As I finally drifted to sleep, a strange sense of possibility flickered beneath the pain. For the first time, I was truly free to define myself. The first week was a blur of practical challenges. Zoe and Tyler were incredible, but their one-bedroom apartment was too small for 3 long-term. Their generosity bought me time. During lunch breaks, I scoured listings. Chicago's rental market was brutal. After 10 days, I found a tiny studio in a less desirable neighborhood. The landlord, bless his heart, accepted a larger security deposit instead of a rental history. It was nothing like the comfortable home I'd left, peeling paint, outdated appliances, strange noises. But it was mine. A space where no one could pack my belongings or question my choices. Moving in highlighted how little I owned beyond my clothes and books. No dishes, no towels, no furniture. We'll have a housewarming, Zoe declared, helping me unpack. Everyone brings something useful instead of decorative crap. She organized a small gathering of friends. They arrived with second-hand furniture, kitchen essentials. By evening's end, my apartment transformed from an empty shell into a basic, functional living space. It's not much, I apologized, sitting on mismatched chairs. It's a beginning, my friend Amber corrected. And you did it without their help. Financial reality hit hard. After rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, my adequate salary left almost nothing. I created spreadsheets, meticulously meal planned. Work became my anchor. The Monday after being forced out, I arrived early, throwing myself into the New York clients campaign, channeling all my turmoil into creative energy. My boss noticed. You've been putting in serious hours, he commented 2 weeks later. The New York presentation was excellent, and your follow-up has been impeccable. Thank you, I replied, not mentioning the personal chaos behind my dedication. We're restructuring the team, he continued. I'd like you to lead the digital marketing division. It comes with a 15% raise and more responsibility. The promotion couldn't have come at a better time. It eased financial anxiety and, more importantly, validated my career path, the very one my family had dismissed. While my professional life flourished, I struggled emotionally. Nightmares about homelessness disrupted my sleep. Unexpected sounds in my new building triggered panic. Trust issues colored my interactions, I confessed to Zoe. You should talk to someone professional, she suggested. Therapy is expensive, I countered. So is the emotional toll of trauma, she replied. Your new job has health insurance. She helped me find a therapist specializing in family estrangement and adult children of controlling parents. Our first session opened floodgates. What your family did was not normal or acceptable, my therapist affirmed. Evicting someone without notice is legally questionable, even with family. Doing it while you were away shows premeditation and a fundamental lack of respect. Weekly sessions helped me recognize patterns of emotional manipulation, concepts like scapegoating, golden children, and conditional love. Slowly, I rebuilt my self-worth, separate from family approval. I also focused on practical skills. I'd never needed to handle certain aspects of adult life while living at home. Now, I learned basic plumbing, how to jumpstart a car, simple cooking, home repairs. Each new skill felt like a tiny victory. Proof I could survive, even thrive, on my own. 3 months after moving out, I ran into Kevin at a coffee shop downtown. The meeting was accidental, uncomfortable, revealing. You look good, he said awkwardly. How are you? I'm doing well, I replied truthfully. Working a lot. I got promoted. That's great. He hesitated. Mom's been asking about you. Has she? Strange way of showing concern, cutting off all contact. You cut off contact, he corrected. You stopped answering messages after being thrown out with no notice. Yes, I did. We stood in uncomfortable silence, holding coffee cups like shields. She wants you to come to Sunday dinner, he finally said. To talk things through. On what terms? What do you mean? Does she acknowledge what she did was wrong? Is she apologizing, or does she expect me to pretend nothing happened and resume the same dysfunctional relationship? His expression answered my questions. No acknowledgement, no apology, no change. I can't do that, Kevin. I'm not the same person who left 3 months ago. She's still your mother, he insisted. Yes, I agreed. And I'm still her daughter. That didn't stop her from treating me like I meant nothing. As we parted ways, he seemed troubled. Perhaps seeing our family dynamic from a new perspective. That brief encounter strengthened my resolve. The path forward was neither straight nor easy. Some days I felt empowered, others, I crumbled under the weight of estrangement. But slowly, deliberately, I built a life that belonged wholly to me, furnished with my choices, governed by my values. It wasn't the life I'd imagined, but it was becoming one I could be proud of. As 3 months stretched into 4 and then 5, a remarkable transformation began. The constant anxiety from those first weeks gradually subsided, replaced by a growing confidence in my ability to handle any challenge. My promotion was a professional turning point. Leading the digital marketing division meant higher visibility, direct client contact. I built a small, effective team, implemented new strategies, and delivered consistent results. Your campaign increased engagement by 40%, our CEO noted during a quarterly review. That's impressive work, Leah. The acknowledgement, delivered in front of the entire leadership team, felt more validating than any family approval I had ever sought. My colleagues saw my value without the distorting lens of family history. With financial stability came practical improvements. I traded my unreliable used car for a newer model. When my lease approached renewal, I found a nicer apartment in a safer neighborhood, with more natural light and a small balcony. Furnishing it became an exercise in self-discovery. Free from my mother's aesthetic preferences, I explored my own taste, mid-century. Modern, bold colors, functional spaces. This place feels like you, Zoe commented, visiting the newly decorated apartment. Your old room never did. She was right. My childhood bedroom had been frozen in adolescence, and my space at Mom's felt temporary. This apartment, though rented, was the first home that truly expressed who I was becoming. Social connections expanded. I joined a book club, volunteered at a food bank, accepted work event invitations. Through these, I met people who knew me only as I was now, not as the family disappointment. Among them was Daniel, a graphic designer collaborating with my team. Our professional relationship evolved into friendship, then cautious romance. Unlike previous relationships under my mother's scrutinizing gaze, this connection developed at its own pace. Tell me about your family, Daniel asked on our third date. That's complicated, I replied, sharing the condensed version. His response was refreshing, they sound toxic. I'm sorry you experienced that. No defense of family loyalty. No suggestion I deserved it. No pressure to reconcile. Just simple validation. Daniel's healthy family provided a window into functional dynamics, respectful disagreement, unconditional support. The contrast with my own family was both painful and enlightening. My therapy sessions evolved from crisis management to deeper healing. I examined childhood patterns, recognized unhealthy coping mechanisms, and developed strategies for setting boundaries. You've made remarkable progress, my therapist observed. You're breaking generational patterns. That comment struck me deeply. Perhaps the most meaningful victory wasn't external success, but internal change, the ability to recognize and reject the dysfunctional dynamics that had shaped my family. This psychological shift manifested in unexpected ways. I became more assertive at work, proposed bold campaigns. I set clearer boundaries with friends. I rediscovered my love for photography and creative writing, interests I'd abandoned because they didn't meet family approval. I also made the difficult decision to block all communication from my mother and older siblings. After months of guilt-tripping and hostile texts, I recognized each interaction reset my healing. Kevin remained the exception, his messages had evolved into genuine, if awkward, attempts at independent connection. 5 months after being forced out, I reconnected with Mrs. Reynolds, my high school journalism teacher, at a conference. She'd always encouraged my writing when others focused on my academic performance relative to my siblings. Leah Harrison, how wonderful to see you, she greeted me. Are you still in marketing? Our conversation revealed she'd always seen potential in me that my family had missed. Her belief was genuine, not conditional. You always had a unique perspective, she told me. I'm not surprised you found success on your own terms. That chance meeting inspired me. I started a blog, sharing practical advice for young adults establishing themselves without family support. Budgeting, emotional resilience. The blog connected me to an online community. Comments poured in, validating my story, offering hope. What began as catharsis evolved into a meaningful platform. Your post about holiday coping strategies literally got me through Christmas, one reader wrote. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty about protecting my peace. Through helping others, I continued my own healing, transforming painful memories into useful lessons. As the 6-month mark of my forced independence approached, I realized the family who had discarded me had unintentionally given me the greatest gift, the opportunity to discover my strength, reshape my identity, and build a life aligned with my authentic self. The journey had been painful, but the destination was proving worth every difficult step. Exactly 6 months after finding my belongings in garbage bags, my phone began buzzing. Messages from my mother flooded in, first 1, then 5, then dozens more. By evening, 60 texts, ranging from accusations to desperate pleas. Why won't you answer after everything I've done for you? I need to talk to you. This is an emergency. The final message, at 11:30 p.m., struck a different tone. I made a mistake. I need your help. Against my therapist's advice, I read them all. Something had clearly happened. Something significant enough to break through my mother's pride. Despite everything, concern flickered. I called Kevin the next morning. What's going on with Mom? His heavy sigh carried through the phone. She lost everything. The story emerged in fragments, each more unbelievable. Mom had indeed sold the family home, getting a substantial sum. Instead of investing wisely, she'd entrusted it to a financial advisor introduced by a church acquaintance. It was a scam, Kevin explained. The guy disappeared with her money, and at least 10 other victims. That's terrible, I said, genuinely sympathetic despite our history. But why contact me now? Where are Jackson and Natalie? Another pause. They're not speaking to her. She promised each of us a portion of the house proceeds. Jackson already put a deposit on a vacation property. Natalie had planned a home renovation. And you? I was more cautious, he admitted. But I'm still angry. She made decisions without consulting any of us, then lost everything. The irony was not lost on me. There's more, Kevin continued reluctantly. She has nowhere to live. The new owners took possession last week. She's been in a motel, but her funds are running out. Where does she expect to go? She mentioned your new apartment. A cold wave of disbelief washed over me. After throwing me out without notice, her plan was to move in with me. The audacity was breathtaking. That's not happening, I said firmly. I know, Kevin agreed, surprising me. That would be unreasonable after everything. But she needs something, Leah. She's still our mother. The situation forced me to confront complex questions about obligation, forgiveness, and boundaries. What did I owe the woman who had raised me but also betrayed me? Could I help without sacrificing the healthy independence I had built? Was it possible to show compassion without enabling toxic patterns? After consulting with my therapist, I agreed to meet my mother at a coffee shop, a neutral location where I could leave if necessary. Daniel offered to wait nearby, providing moral support and an escape plan. My mother looked diminished when she arrived. Her confident posture replaced by a nervous hunch. The designer clothes, her uniform, exchanged for casual wear. She had aged years. Thank you for coming, she began, hands clutching her coffee cup. I didn't think you would. I almost didn't, I replied honestly. We sat in uncomfortable silence. I lost everything, she finally said. The house, the money, everything. Jackson and Natalie won't speak to me. They say I betrayed them. I nodded, acknowledging her pain without accepting responsibility for it. I need help, Leah. Her voice cracked. I have nowhere to go. The request hung in the air. She expected me, the child she had discarded, to rescue her. 6 months earlier, I might have agreed, desperate for approval. Now I saw it with painful clarity. Do you understand what you did to me? I asked quietly. She blinked, clearly unprepared. I was trying to help you become independent. By throwing me out without warning. By packing my things in garbage bags while I was away. By ambushing me with the entire family witnessing my humiliation. I may have handled it poorly, she conceded, but my intentions were good. Your intentions? I laughed, without humor. You sold the house without telling me. You planned to reduce my inheritance. You treated me like an inconvenience rather than your daughter. Tears filled her eyes. I made mistakes. Yes, I agreed. You did. And now you are facing consequences, just as I had to face the consequences of your actions 6 months ago. So you won't help me? Indignation crept into her tone. After everything I sacrificed raising you. I didn't say that, I corrected her. I'm willing to help, but on my terms, not yours. I outlined the boundaries I'd carefully considered. I would help her find affordable senior housing, contribute a modest monthly amount. I would not allow her to move in with me, borrow money directly, or resume the controlling relationship of the past. That's your idea of help? She asked incredulously. That is what I can offer while still respecting myself, I replied. Take it or leave it. Our conversation continued for nearly 2 hours, cycling through accusations, justifications, tears, and tentative steps toward understanding. My mother struggled to accept that our relationship had fundamentally changed. I never thought you'd be so hard, she said at one point. I never thought I'd need to be, I countered. But here we are. By the end of our meeting, we reached an uneasy agreement. I would research housing and help with the application process. She would attend family therapy sessions with me as a condition of ongoing support. Neither of us was entirely satisfied, but it was a starting point that maintained my boundaries while acknowledging our connection. As we prepared to leave, she asked the question that revealed how little she had understood my journey: when will things go back to normal between us? I looked at her directly, with compassion but unwavering honesty. They will not. That version of our relationship is gone. We might build something new, something healthier, but we cannot go backward. Her face felt the reality of permanent change finally sinking in. In that moment, I felt an unexpected shift within myself. The anger that had fueled me for months didn't disappear, but it loosened its grip. I could see my mother not as the all-powerful figure of my childhood, but as a flawed human whose poor choices had cost her dearly. That recognition didn't excuse her actions or erase the harm, but it allowed me to respond from a place of strength rather than reactive pain. I could offer appropriate help without sacrificing the healthy life I had built, a balance that would have been impossible 6 months earlier. As I walked away from the coffee shop, Daniel fell into step beside me. How did it go? Exactly as hard as I expected, I replied, but also necessary. Are you okay? I considered the question carefully. Not yet, but I will be. That evening, I received messages from both Jackson and Natalie for the first time in months. Word of my meeting with Mom had spread, along with my limited offer of assistance. Their texts contained no apologies for their role in my eviction, only thinly veiled attempts to gauge my mother's financial situation and my involvement. I left both messages unanswered, recognizing them as continuations of unhealthy patterns rather than genuine attempts at reconciliation. Some relationships could potentially heal, others needed to remain distant for my well-being. Learning to distinguish between them was part of my ongoing growth. The family crisis that had prompted 60 desperate messages hadn't provided a Hollywood reconciliation. Instead, it offered something more valuable: confirmation that the boundaries I had established were necessary, and the independent life I had built was worth protecting. In the weeks following our coffee shop confrontation, I helped my mother navigate finding affordable senior housing. The assistance was practical: researching options, explaining applications, driving her to appointments. Pine Meadows, where she eventually moved, offered independent living. Her modest studio was a significant downgrade from our family home. It's small, she commented on move-in day. So was my first apartment, I reminded her gently. You adapt. The parallel wasn't lost on her. For the first time, my mother was experiencing the challenges of starting over with limited resources, the very situation she had thrust upon me. Our relationship remained complicated, but the enforced distance created space for gradual healing. The weekly therapy sessions, which she attended reluctantly at first, became a structured environment to address long-standing patterns and build healthier communication. I never realized how my own upbringing affected my parenting, she admitted during one breakthrough session. My mother was even more controlling than I was. Understanding the origins of her behavior didn't excuse it, but it provided context that helped me process my childhood. Generational trauma had shaped us all. As promised, I contributed a modest monthly amount toward her expenses, carefully calculated to provide support without sacrificing my own financial security. The arrangement was formalized through our therapist, establishing clear expectations. My relationships with my siblings evolved differently. Kevin and I rebuilt a cautious connection. He apologized for his role in my eviction, an acknowledgement that opened a door. I should have stood up for you, he said. I knew it was wrong. Why didn't you? I asked, not accusingly, but with genuine curiosity. It was easier to go along, he admitted. I've always done what Mom and Jackson thought best. Even when I disagreed. His honesty revealed patterns I recognized from my own experience, the complex dynamics that had shaped all our choices. Through our conversations, we both gained insights into the family system that had constrained us. Jackson remained distant, sending impersonal greetings, making no effort at meaningful connection. His pride prevented him from acknowledging any wrongdoing, and I no longer felt compelled to seek his approval. The most surprising development came from Natalie. 6 months after our mother's financial collapse, my sister faced her own crisis when her husband announced he wanted a divorce. Suddenly single with 2 children and a lifestyle she couldn't maintain, she gained unexpected perspective on vulnerability. "I never understood what it meant to have your life upended overnight," she confessed during an unexpected phone call. "I think I get it now." Our reconciliation was tentative, but it opened possibilities I hadn't anticipated. We began meeting monthly for lunch, rebuilding trust through small, consistent interactions rather than grand gestures. While family relationships slowly evolved, my professional life continued to flourish. 1 year after the promotion that coincided with my forced independence, I was offered the position of Director of Marketing, overseeing all campaigns and client relationships. The new role came with a substantial salary increase, stock options, and enhanced benefits. For the first time, I felt truly financially secure, capable of building long-term stability. With this security came the ability to pursue a dream I had privately harbored: home ownership. Working with a realtor, I found a charming condo in a diverse neighborhood with a reasonable commute. The day I received the keys, I stood alone in the empty living room, overwhelmed. This space was mine, purchased with my earnings, selected by my preferences, secured by my credit and reputation. No one could pack my belongings or demand I leave. No one could diminish this achievement. I hosted a housewarming party for the friends who had supported me through the darkest periods: Zoe and Tyler, Daniel, work colleagues, even Kevin. They filled my new home with laughter and positive energy. "I propose a toast," Zoe announced, raising her glass. "To Leah, who turned garbage bags into a gorgeous home through sheer determination and courage." The reference to my journey prompted knowing smiles rather than painful memories. What had once been traumatic had transformed into an origin story of resilience and growth. As my external circumstances stabilized, I continued the internal work of healing. With my therapist's encouragement, I established a small scholarship fund for young adults aging out of foster care or leaving difficult family situations. The modest grants helped with security deposits, professional clothing, educational expenses. "You've turned your pain into purpose," my therapist observed. "That is true healing." The observation resonated deeply. The betrayal that had shattered my sense of security had ultimately revealed strengths I might never have discovered otherwise. Being forced to stand alone had taught me that I could not just survive, but thrive on my own terms. My relationship with my mother would never return to what it had been, nor what I wanted it to be. The dynamics that had defined our earlier interaction were fundamentally unhealthy, rooted in control rather than respect. Instead, we were slowly building something new, a relationship between adults with clear boundaries and realistic expectations. During our last therapy session of the year, my mother said something that demonstrated how far we had both come. "I'm proud of you," she stated simply. "Not because you're successful by conventional standards, though you are. I'm proud of who you've become, how you've handled adversity, much of which I caused." The acknowledgement, offered without qualification or comparison to my siblings, was perhaps the most genuine approval she had ever expressed. It mattered to me, but in a different way than it once would have. Her validation was welcome, but no longer necessary for my sense of worth. That evolution represented the most profound lesson of my journey. Love should not require perfect compliance. Achievement should not be a prerequisite for belonging. And family connections, while important, cannot define our entire sense of self. There are wounds that never completely heal, relationships that cannot be fully restored, and betrayals that permanently alter our understanding of trust and loyalty. Yet within those painful realities lie opportunities for growth that might otherwise remain undiscovered. Sometimes, being forced out of what feels like home leads us to where we truly belong, to the person we were meant to become. What began with garbage bags at a gate ended with the keys to my own front door, both literally and metaphorically. The journey between those points transformed not just my circumstances, but my fundamental understanding of family, independence, and self-worth. In losing what I thought I needed, I found what I truly deserved: a life defined by my choices, rather than others' expectations.